focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
Welcome to Wealth on the Beach podcast with Daniel Alonzo. It is a super beautiful day in California. Although it's not sunny today, everyone. It's not sunny, but good news, we got a sunny character that's going to be with us today. This guy is one of my absolute favorite people. Tim Storey's here to brighten up our day. He's an acclaimed author, speaker, life coach. Tim Storey is well known for inspiring and motivating people all over the world. Runs a fantastic church, by the way, that I've been to, Congregation Church in Yorba Linda. I had the pleasure of attending his church. He has visited 75 countries, spoken to millions and millions of people, high-profile leaders all over the world, and just has changed a lot of lives. How are you, Tim Storey?
I'm good, and you look great with those palm trees behind you.
Thank you. I'm actually in my wife's office right now. She's got these double doors out the window, so we're very pleased to be here. So Tim, all right, everybody's been asking me. Okay, I got to start with this question. What's it like? What's Oprah Winfrey like, man? What's she like?
That's actually a great question. I think that, I get to meet, as you do, a lot of dynamic people. But Oprah is over and above. And I'll break down the areas. One is she is just such a classy woman. Carries herself like she's worth billions of dollars. And then the other thing is that if you know her, because she's like very smart people do, you have to make sure you are careful who you bring on the inside. If you know her kind of well, she's always gracious and kind, but when you really get to know her, she is like family. She likes family talk, family discussion. And the third thing I would say is that she is a wealth, Daniel, of information, because she has interviewed the greatest people on earth for over 30 years. And so she's like a walking library.
Wow.
And I will say this, out of Lee Iacocca, Vidal Sassoon, or any other greats I've been around, Jeff Bezos, this lady is a walking library like I've never seen. So Oprah Winfrey is as much as you think she is.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you. We're not going to be talking much more about Oprah. We want to talk about the great Tim Storey. We want to talk about your journey and how you've done what you've done. I mean, so just kind of take us back a little bit and tell us about your childhood, man. I mean, what was that like?
I think everything begins with a young dream. Sometimes people say, I want my childhood dreams to come true. Well, hopefully your childhood dreams have matured by the time you're 30. So Daniel, my childhood dreams were playing Major League Baseball or playing in the NBA, like a lot of kids think.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking, Daniel, is that I wanted to do something different and better than what I saw around me. So my surroundings were very cramped and very crowded. As you know my story, we had 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't even a house.
Wow.
And so that's a lot of people. So it was cramped, crowded. We were raised in East LA in a tougher neighborhood. So I want to do something different and better. So different and better were always in me since I was 5, when I was 10, when I was 15. And so now that you have the desire, what do you need next? You need a discipline. The discipline came from my mother. My mother was a very hardworking, she's a Spanish lady, and she taught us not to do a halfway job. So, and nothing that I do I do halfway to this day. I don't do anything halfway. If I am going to speak somewhere, I study over If I'm going to meet you for lunch, I'm prepared for you. I know what you're up to. I know what you're doing. So thank God for my mother that taught us to do things in a very disciplined manner. So I had desire and discipline, and then I started getting breaks early on in life.
Well, that's why you got breaks, right, Tim? I mean, is because you are a hard worker. I mean, we have an organization of 1,500 licensed agents today, and I'm always pouring into them, Tim, that you got to be a man of your word. I mean, you really have to. You have to be willing to do those things that most people aren't willing to do, so that you can have that extraordinary opportunity. And look, people like you, people like me that want to spend time with great people and want to expand other people's opportunities, because I'm always looking to help people. I want to find people that want success. They want to see their success. They want to become somebody, but they're willing to put in the work. I mean,
Awesome.
you agree with
so
that?
real. And Daniel, that's exactly who you and your wife are, is that you guys had the desire, but you also had the discipline. But the third component is that the discipline has to be on the right path. And so I teach this, that God has put favor on the person. So you have favor on your person. You have since you were young, and so have I. But favor is also on a path. So just because you have favor on your person doesn't mean it's on the path that you've chosen. So
Wow.
it's very important that knowing that you have favor, everybody that's watching and listening, you have favor. You have the favor of God. You've been made in the image of God. But secondly, is it favors on your path. And I found quickly what my favorite path was, and that is to be a humanitarian. So when I went to seminary, I went there to be a humanitarian. A person who inspired me was actually Mother Teresa. I mean, you would not think I'd be, motivated by Mother Teresa, but I was, because that was a woman who gave her life to help orphans. And Daniel, I wanted to give my life to empower people, to motivate people, to uplift people. So that desire and that discipline needed a path. And
Right.
the path was me being a humanitarian.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about, I heard you were an athlete. What did you play? And were you any good?
I played with 3 traditional sports. And I only played through high school, because then I went to seminary after, and we didn't have a team. But I was a very good baseball player. That was probably the best sport I was at.
What position?
As I was young, I was a phenom as a young guy. And I was a very good third baseman. Nothing scared me. When I was 10, I played against the 12-year-olds because I was that good. And I don't care how big those 12-year-olds were. They could be having beards. I don't care how hard they threw the ball at me when they pitched, or how hard the ball came at me. I was fearless.
That's awesome.
And then I played basketball, then I was a quarterback. But I was kind of naturally gifted in sports. But I'll tell you something that's kind of cool, is that there was a guy named David Gonzalez in my neighborhood. And David was 7 years older than me. So when I was 7, he was 14, and he saw my talent, and he would train me in all 3 sports starting when I was 7.
Wow.
And David Gonzalez became a phenomenal athlete in LA. So could you imagine being mentored by people at such a young age? And so let's flip it back to you. That's exactly what you're up to. So you are mentoring people and how to live this outstanding life. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that. And by the way, I was a third baseman as well. Loved third base, the hot spot. Loved it. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I lost my two front teeth when I was about my first teeth when I was about 6 or 7 years old, because I was playing with the 9 and 10-year-olds. So I totally relate to what you're talking about. And I think sometimes people, they try to look for people below them to spend time with.
Yes.
Versus trying to find, it's kind of, John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid, and
Yes.
raising your levels by raising the people you spend time with. So if you're a 5 or a 6 in your thought process right now, you should be spending time with 7s and 8s. And I think that made such a big difference, because I was willing to fight for those higher positions, but because I was going up against people that were better than me, I always beat out my competition, early on.
Yes, I love what you're saying, and I agree with it, and we'll add something that I think you'll agree with. The key is to be the best version of you.
Right.
And so as I got older in sports, I found out, man, there were guys that played baseball all year long. Daniel, I didn't know that, because in where I was raised, we played baseball during one part of the year, basketball during another, football during another. But there are guys that played like baseball all year round. No wonder if I was hitting 330, some of them were hitting 410. That was like, how does the guy hit 410? And I was as good as that guy last year.
Right.
Because he's playing baseball all year round, right? So I think that part of your training that I'm seeing, and one reason that you are just taking off in so many different directions in such a great way, is that you have decided to up your discipline and take it into a different level of training. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
So because I was just playing seasonal baseball and didn't know you could play all year round, some of my contemporaries took it to another level, but I didn't know. So I feel like through podcasts like yours, that you are educating us that we can go to different levels, different dimensions. There are different dimensions of living. Right when you think you've made it because you have a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, you get around these guys that have these $50 million jets.
Right.
And then you get around these guys that have these $50 million jets, and you meet guys that are influencing 17 countries.
Right.
So, everybody has their way of manifesting influence, but the key is to know that we can up our level of discipline.
Totally agree. And I think that it's nice that we're talking about how sports played, because a lot of people that come from a sports background, I think what's sad is that not everybody makes it to the pros. Not everybody's going to make it to the pros. So what happens, I see a lot of depression from people like me that were extremely competitive, extremely motivated to be great at a sport. But then, of course, you don't make it, and then you go in the real world, you get a job, you start being average and ordinary. There's no competition. There's no other levels. There's no other way to, get out that passion and that determination and that power that you had when you were on the field. And so I think people need to understand that playing sports as a child is not the end all. I mean, you could use that same passion, that same determination to help fuel a church, to help a cause, to get on a crusade, to make, to correct an injustice, to do something to make the world a better place. How do you feel about that, Tim?
100%. And another thing that I see that you do, because I'm studying you. I watch you on social media. We're friends. We're at events together, and your wife is dynamic too. And I want to say this, that I feel that it's important that everybody listening realizes to be part of a team doesn't mean you have to be the quote unquote star of the team. So in a team that you have, because you're running multiple businesses, it's important to realize that the goal is not to pass you, is that there's room for everybody if you play your position at the maximum place. I call it utmost living. I wrote a book called Utmost Living, which was a best-selling book. And thank you, Oprah, for helping making that a best-selling book. But
Awesome book, by the way.
one reason I get to play with the big boys is because I'm a positional player. So if I'm doing stuff with Steve Harvey, I am not trying to be Steve Harvey. I respect the fact that when I'm on his show, I'm on his team. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally, totally.
If I'm doing things with Ed Milet, I'm on his team. Or Grant Cardone's conference, I'm on his team. Your conference, I'm on your team. And so it's very important that we all realize we're not trying to outdo each other and upstage each other. Just be the best positional player that life's called you to be.
Oh, totally, totally. I love that. And look, that's how we've been able to build a business through the years is I was always a team player. The guy that I worked underneath, Hector Lamarck, and which I did his podcast, great podcast that we put on last week, I believe it aired. And I was always like, I knew that I wasn't going to be Hector Lamarck, but I knew that I was going to be the best teammate that he had. And I did everything in my power to push him up to create, to help his success grow. And at the same time, what's amazing, Tim, is that he constantly made me a star. He constantly, pushed me up as well. And because we were teammates, I think we've all achieved the things that we wanted to achieve, and really far more than I ever thought that I would have today, Tim. So grateful, so blessed that we have been able to achieve the things that we've been able to achieve. Nowhere near done. I tell people all the time, I'm nowhere near done because I feel like, I'm 43 years young right now. Yeah. And I have so much energy. And look, let me tell you something, Tim. I believe that God puts you in certain situations and brings certain people into your life. God brought you into my life. There's no question about it. I had no idea working with Hank, I was going to be connected with you. Zero idea at all. And yeah. when that happened, it was immediate. It was a connection that I feel I haven't felt in so long. And so for me personally, I just want you to know that I feel like I'm on your team. I feel like I'm one of those guys that really wants to push you up and to see. I want people to know who you are, Tim, because they have to understand where your heart is. Because the next little thing that I want to transition into right now is the fact that, look, man, people look at a man of God and then they see the abundance of financial abundance that you've been given, that you've been blessed with. And there's people will criticize that, man. People they go, well, how can you talk about making money and having this abundant financial life, but also be a man of God? And I think there's a lot of hypocrisy in that, in what people talk about. And I want you to maybe address it a little bit, because I want people to know where your heart comes from.
Yeah, I think I can address it in a very wise way because I've been around it for 37 years. What I've noticed, let's say in ministry, is that there's probably only about 10% of people in ministry that do well. The average church is struggling financially. The average church is trying to make ends meet. What a lot of people don't realize, and you do because you deal in real estate, is if you really pay attention, you'll see a lot of times churches for sale. It's really kind of sad that churches that used to be a big deal in the 60s and the 70s, and maybe even in the 80s, are for sale because they could not meet their budget. So really about 10% of ministries have what I call the overflow, and about 2% deal in like maximum amounts of money. That would be like a Joel Osteen or a Joyce Myers, where they get into this, a lot of money that comes in. I know both of those people. They're very kind, and they make most of their money on things like product. Well, because I knew the kickback on this and how people would come against ministers, from day one, I became a businessman while I was a minister. So I've always been a hybrid, 50% business, 50% ministry. And so I currently am involved in 8 different businesses. I have a church that I do not get paid from, which is an amazing thing. And our church is doing well. It's only 3 years old, has over 600 people part of the church. But when it gets into the thousands, I'm still not going to get paid.
Right.
And the reason for that is not to show my humility. It's because I want to use the money that I'm getting from other places to help build the kingdom. I'm a giver. I also have something called the Hollywood Bible Study that's been going very successfully since 1992. We have close to 8,000 people that say they're part of the Hollywood Bible Study. That has been an amazing revenue stream in which I have never taken 1 cent personally.
Wow.
With the greats coming, with the biggest stars in the world, with the Kanye West sitting on the front row and Robert Downey in the third, I've never taken 1 penny from the Hollywood Bible Study. What does that say? Well, interpret it the way you want. To me, again, I wanted to have my businesses help me to prosper the kingdom. So I do believe that that's one reason that I'm blessed and that I keep getting in new businesses. I got 2 new businesses that I'm opening within the next 4 months that will be very large. And I don't think it's going to stop. It's a biblical principle. You reap what you sow. And so that's how I see it. I like being a humanitarian. I do the public speaking for churches for free at my church with the Hollywood Bible Study. And when I go out and speak at other churches, I use the money from my nonprofit going to third world nations for over 37 years. So, yeah, I like what I do.
It's pretty fantastic. And I just think that that answer that you gave, Tim, is so genuine and so honest and just straight up, man. I mean, no messing around. It's like, I see you work. Okay. I mean, you work, dude. I mean, there's no question about it. You do hustle. Of course, you're a man of your word. You do what you say you're going to do, and you're great at it. And so let's speak a little bit about that, because look, I mean, there are a lot of people, and by the way, I do own real estate and I do have some properties, but my main business would be more towards financial services, insurances, investments. I'm Series 663 license, 26, all my financial services licenses. But the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of people that work with me. And there's a lot of people that are listening to this right now, and they have a challenge of what I call just pure laziness. They have a challenge of not, creating that work ethic for them to grow to that next level. Tell me, like, what would you say if you were gonna coach me? If I'm coming to you and I'm going, Tim, man, I just can't get myself to get up. I love what I do. I love my business. I love, how I'm helping people. I'm making a difference, but I just can't get myself to go do what I got to go do. How do you respond?
I got a good answer for you.
Okay.
I think so many people, they want to be in the spotlight. They see yourself, they see Gary Vaynerchuk. Reading this book right now by Ray Dolly. They see these different people that they would consider stars, So they want the spotlight. Let me tell you how to get the spotlight. To get the spotlight, you have to build your spot. If your spot is working at Taco Bell, make me a gordita, take care of the Chihuahua, and don't complain. Work at Taco Bell for year 1, year 2, year 3 if you have to. If you're selling suits, don't complain. Find out, is it American cut, European cut? Is it 100% wool? What's going on? Why do I know so much about suits? Because I sold suits for a whole summer. But I took time understanding how suits were made and became the number 2 salesman of suits with guys that have been selling suits for 15 years. Because I understood the quality of how a suit was made, even down to going to the factory. I went to the factory in downtown LA and literally spent 4 hours watching how they put it together. So when I would talk to a customer, I was blowing everybody's minds. And at that time, I was 18.
That's awesome.
So build your spot, and God will put his spotlight on your spot.
Love
so when
that.
you build your spot, we will find you. If you're a hustler, I'll find you. One of my best assistants, I found her basically just working another job somewhere else. I find people at fast food restaurants that work for me. I find them in other situations where I see them hustling. I got my feelers out for other people I've seen hustle in lower end jobs that I'm looking to recruit already. Build your spot, and God will put his spotlight on your spot. Quit looking at everybody else's spot. Build your spot. So if you're working with Danny Alonzo today, build your spot. Don't listen to too many people. Don't read too many books at one time if you're not building your spot. Build your spot. Meet with your people. Bring in money. Be a person of your word. Build your spot. God will put the spotlight on the spot. That's why I have so many businesses, Danny, is because I never look for all these businesses I'm in. So let's say if I'm working with Quincy Jones, he might come to me and say, hey, Tim, man, you need to get in on this. Me, so-and-so, and so-and-so, we're all doing this. And I'll go, you think I should? He goes, are you kidding me? Let's do it. Or I know one of the best men in restaurants in America. I've life coached him for 20 years. So he came to me and he said, hey, me, and he named 3 celebrities that they would all know, we're doing a restaurant. Tim, just put this much money in, and I guarantee you're going to triple your money. Well, that's common sense. So that's what I did starting back in 1994. Next thing I know, I was in the restaurant business. So I built my spot, and the spotlight hit my spot.
That's it. Oh, well said, man. That is just absolutely like my mind is exploding right now, because if people could really get that. See, people think about the money. That's all they think about. They think about, how am I going to go get the money, instead of saying, I got to master my craft. I got to get great at what I need to do. I mean, when you talked about the suits right now, Tim, I mean, I remember being a brand new representative. I mean, I shut off my TV for 3 years. I literally shut off my TV for 3 years. We had no cable. We dedicated ourselves to go mastering our craft. I remember being on the phone. I would call other insurance companies and act like I was wanting to buy their product, so I knew how they were selling it, so I could understand what they were telling my competition, or telling my potential clients in the future. I knew it so well that we shot up through the company so fast. Most people, Tim, they're just not willing to put in that kind of effort, that type of focus. And I think that's why they never truly get the things and get to that next place. And they don't get that spotlight. They don't get that. Nobody ever really notices them, because they're not putting in their maximum effort to be great at whatever it is that they're trying to be great at.
100%, I agree with everything you said, Daniel. And again, let me just say this to you as a younger guy coming up strong, because your influence is going to be worldwide, and worldwide is fun. You know, I was in Dubai last month, and a lady ran up to me, and she was telling me how I influenced her life, and she lives and works in Dubai. So that's kind of fun. Does that make sense?
Huge.
It's one thing to have, you know, people loving us in America, but when you get worldwide influence, that's the next level, and that's where you're headed. And so I feel that, you know, you have been working your spot, and now people from a lot of different walks of life are figuring out who you are, that you're not in just one field, but you're being true to your field. You're prospering where you're planted. And I want to say this to some people that are working with you. Quit looking at everybody else's field. Prosper in your own field. Build your own field. Prosper where you are, and again, the spotlight will come to where you are. Because I feel like a lot of people, they jump fields because they go, oh, I've been trying this particular company for a while, and even though Daniel's a great leader, I thought I'd do better by now, so I'm going to jump fields. No. Stay in your lane. I'm a master at that. I stay in my lane. I thank God for all my buddies that are just prospering and doing amazing things. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Well, you're doing an amazing job, and I appreciate that so much. I mean, that means so much to those people that are listening right now, because they're always looking left and always looking right. Just focus on what you want. You know, write it down, know exactly what you want. And that's kind of gets me to the, you know, I love when you talk about the God plan, you know, instead of just working a plan or just having an idea, you know, is it a God idea? And so talk to us, you know, share that with us a little bit, Tim, and why that's so important.
Okay. I truly believe that there are good ideas and God ideas. And I really need people to hear this part, because it'll change your whole life. It's changed my life. Good ideas are good. Good ideas have made freeways. Good ideas have taken people to space. Good ideas are good. But God ideas are very interesting. God ideas are God inspired and God endorsed. When God inspires an idea, you got to understand, a God idea is supreme. So that supreme idea has supernatural power on it. A good idea could be just your brilliant mind coming up with an idea like, hey, I got an idea, I'm going to take it to QVC or HSN. Probably a good idea. The Thigh Master with Suzanne Summers was probably a good idea. It made her a lot of money and made a lot of people money. But a God idea is a supreme idea that is God inspired and God endorsed. And when God is on your side, watch out. Me and Oprah had this talk, because we like to sit in her backyard and just communicate. And I was talking about this, and she says, Tim, I believe that my life is a God idea. She goes, you got it right. She goes, even as a little girl in church, I knew I was going to be Oprah Winfrey at this level. She said, even as I was coming up, signing with King World, I knew I was going to be Oprah Winfrey at this level. She said, it was a God idea. It was a, as she would say, an aha moment. So Tim Storey and Daniel, how do I get a God idea? It's more simple than you realize. You have to stop, you have to look, and you have to listen. We are all so busy that we're not taking time to hear God's voice. My sheep know my voice. You got to stop, You got to look to him and you got to listen. So all the projects that I'm in the middle of, Daniel, right now, I'm just flying because I've got the Supreme on my bean. With the Supreme on my bean, I don't look stressed. In 2 hours, I'm meeting with a guy with a new movie that I'm doing with Sharon Stone and Andy Garcia. I don't look stressed. After that, I'm doing a big mastermind with somebody that you know that's super famous. I don't look stressed. We're in the middle of filming 3 TV shows. I'm not stressed. I got another movie with probably one of the top actors in the world. I'm not stressed. Here I am, talking to you, looking at your great palm trees in back of you, looking at your handsome face.
Love that. We lost your sound for some reason.
Isn't that a way? Did you catch part of what I said?
No, we got it all. Just that last few words. Just say that again. It was just.
I said the Supreme is on my being, which makes me supernatural.
Love it, love it, love it. I love it, man. Hey, Tim, this has been one of the most fantastic conversations I have ever had in my life. Tim, I want you to tell me, man, tell me about the Melrose Recovery Group and why that's so on your heart and why that's so important to you.
And thank you for asking about that. My own brother struggled with addiction, and it took his life. And, you know, at the time that happened, Daniel was like, oh, man. You know, you always wonder what more could you have done, and I had done so much. And it really affected my family, probably for a decade, for 10 years. It was so difficult on us. And I always wanted to find a way to give back. People used to invite me a lot to speak at recovery centers, recovery groups. And I decided to go in with a man named Walty Barra, another person named Trina Aguilar, and we started Melrose Recovery Group. We now have 5 recovery centers, 5 recovery centers. 2 are in LA, 3 are in Orange County. So we have those. And for more information, you can just go to timstorey.com. So if you know somebody who's struggling with addiction, if we don't have any room in our centers, we'll try to get you in others. And they're first-rate facilities changing lives. So Melrose Recovery Centers. I'm all.
I think your phone phone's.
I'm doing a new show with. I'm doing a new show with Christina El Musa from Flip or Flop. We're doing a show on comebacks. That's coming out next season. I'm also building a new comeback ranch with somebody you know who's giving me the money. I'll tell you off camera who it is. You'll get excited. And yeah, I'm enjoying that. But also, if you don't mind, I'd like to tell people about my Utmost app.
Okay.
I put $70,000 into an app. You know, that's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
$70,000 into an app that only costs them $1.99. So it only costs you $1.99, and I constantly upgrade the material in there. It's all motivational material, motivating you daily, taking you through daily meditations. So many great people are on it. So if you just go to the iTunes App Store, it's called Utmost with Tim Storey.
Well,
we don't have an Android yet. We're working on it.
I want to say that I'm on it, Tim, and I look at that all the time, man. It's tons of great content. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for doing that. What a incredible idea to do that. And so the last thing, Tim, is tell us about January 19th. And this vision tour that this crazy guy, Daniel Alonzo, said, hey, man, I'm going to bring a bunch of people together. We're going to figure out how to inspire the world, teach and train and motivate like nothing ever. How do you feel about that, and why should we go?
Well, number one, in the midst of so many things that I have going on, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, let me get this right. So in the midst of so many things I've got going on, when I was asked to do your conference, I said to my assistant, where else I have, move it, because I got to do it. Because if somebody's doing something great, make sure you're right in the middle of it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And what you are doing is you're using your gift of mentoring, motivation, inspiring, educating, and you are taking it to another level. So you are sharing secrets that have put you and your family in a spot where there's palm trees behind you, and you are sharing secrets to people that will change their life. So all of you that are listening, you need to be there, because you are one conversation away from your break. And that conversation is going to take place in January. So it is a privilege to be part of your team. I submit to you at your conference. It's your conference. I will be there on time. I will be excited. I'll be ready. And people, you need to come. You're one conversation away from a breakthrough that will change your life. And that will happen in January.
I love that. I appreciate that, Tim. Thank you so much. I just want everybody to know that, man, we're doing this podcast because we want to change your life. We want to get you that next level of your life. And of course, I wanted to let everybody know, November 1, the prices for the Vision Tour, January 19th, 2019, they will be going up November 1st. We're continually signing people up for the Wealth on the Beach Club. So, check out my Instagram for more information on that. And of course, I do a full hour every single week, Tim. And then I do a Q&A with a group of people that really are raising their game to the next level. We've had so many people have some breakthroughs during our lessons. It's been so fulfilling to me. Of course, we got alonzoacademy.com. Check out if you want to know more about me, my bio, my story. And as always, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free. There's lots of great free content on there. Check it out. It might inspire you. And so thank you again, Tim. God bless you. I appreciate you. And for everybody else, I want you to remember to dream bigger than ever and make sure that you do it now. God bless. Have a great day.